Mike, opening day, NBAA 2013, lots of things going on, a lot of interesting projects and so forth, but it's so cool to hear people who went out and did something adventurous with airplanes. Sure, we're in the business. Sure, airplanes are amazing tools, but boy, they sure are an adventure. Tell me about yours.
Jim, I was lucky enough to plan a trip around the world. I started planning that about a year ago. I'd always had an ambition, although I'd flown many trips internationally in the MU-2, I'd always had this desire to take off and come back to the same place and circumnavigate the world. The thing that brought the date about was the coming of the 50th anniversary of the first flight of the MU-2, which was the 14th of September this year. So I decided to incorporate that into my trip to arrive in Nagoya, Japan on the 14th of September 2013, 50 years later.
Had to be the trip of a lifetime. Tell me about your route.
My route started off in Aiken, South Carolina, my home base. I flew into Frederick, Maryland. I had a journalist from AOPA accompany me on the trip. Flew from there to Goose Bay in Canada, Narsarsuaq in Greenland, then across to Reykjavik in Iceland. From there we went to Newcastle in Scotland and across to Straubing in Germany. And Straubing is the home of the MT propeller, and I had the first set of MTs on my aeroplane. We just completed the STC, which was issued on the 31st of July, and so it was a great opportunity to test them on the trip. From there, just a short hop across to Salzburg in Austria. The exciting thing in Salzburg is the Red Bull Aviation Museum, so we got to spend a whole day there. From there into Turkey, landed in Ankara in Turkey. Squeezed through the borders of Syria and Iran and flew down over Iraq into Kuwait. And I'll just diverse a little bit on that. Our initial routing was going to be into Egypt. And of course, with the unrest in Egypt, that was a place to avoid. So the routing worked out wonderful, it really did. From Kuwait, we flew 5 miles against the Iranian border, so my Garmin proved to be very accurate there, and all the way down over the top of Dubai into Oman.
Redbird Flight Simulations is dedicated to revolutionizing flight training by designing, manufacturing, and delivering affordable and innovative flight training technologies. Each Redbird device is designed to enhance the training experience for pilots of all levels, from student to ATP. Redbird is quickly becoming the industry standard for flight training. Since Redbird introduced its revolutionary FMX in 2007, colleges, universities, and flight training operations around the world have integrated Redbird products into their curriculum. It's time to discover what Redbird can do for you. Join the migration.
I spent the night in Oman, flew across to Mumbai in India for a tech stop, on down to Sri Lanka, or Colombo in Sri Lanka, an overnight there. From there we flew to northern coast of Sumatra, on down to Palembang in southern Sumatra, very close to Singapore. From there, a short hop to beautiful Bali. I spent the night there. Next day we flew to Broome in Western Australia, my home country. Broome to Ayers Rock, largest monolith in the world, sitting right in the middle of Australia. From there on to Latrobe Valley. Latrobe Valley is the airport that I learnt to fly at all those years ago, and it's exciting to see that it hasn't changed much. So I spent a couple of days with my family there, and from there we flew up to Bundaberg in Queensland, state of Queensland. Spent the night there. They build the Jabiru aircraft there. From there to Horn Island, which is just off the northern coast of Australia, just close to New Guinea. Next stop was Biak, back in Indonesia for a tech stop, and then on to Taipei, Taiwan. And the next morning, which was the 13th of September, we flew and positioned in Nagoya, Japan. The people from Mitsubishi were there for a very warm welcome. The press was there and a lot of well-wishers there. We spent the day as guests of Mitsubishi on the day of the 14th anniversary of the MU-2. The next morning we flew just shy of a typhoon coming in. The next stop was Petropavlek or something in Russia, I don't know. Next morning on to Anadyr in Russian, easier to pronounce. across the Bering Strait into Fairbanks, Fairbanks to Ketchikan, still in the US, fortunately. Jumped across Canada into Minot, North Dakota. The next day flew to Frederick, Maryland to drop off Mike Collins from AOPA and back to Aiken, South Carolina 25 days later.
How many hours?
101.5.
Over the past 2 decades, no resource has compiled as much expert-valued information about the sport plane world than the Sport Plane Resource Guide. Over 1,500 pages, hundreds of aircraft, dozens of how-tos and directories. All this and more will be coming to the sport aviation world soon with the new, all-electronic and updatable Sport Plane Resource Guide for your iPad, iPhone, Kindle, tablet, PC, or other electronic devices. Get your order in now. www.sportplane.com.
When you think back, what is it that you got from the entire journey, the whole adventure?
Well, the one thing is the reliability of the airplane proved itself. After 101 hours, the airplane arrived back squawk-free. There was no maintenance required anywhere, apart from I checked the tyre pressures in Australia, and that was that. The one thing that I really noticed about the airplane was a trip like that is kind of an undertaking. It's a large undertaking to fly an airplane around the world with standard fuel. Although I worked very hard on my planning, the airplane surprised me every day how it took the trip in its stride. It was so easy, so doable. The other thing that I've come away from the trip realizing is not enough people embark on trips like this, and I'm not suggesting that everyone does a trip around the world, but I'd like to emphasize to people how easy it is to get into your airplane and fly to Europe with your family and do trips like that. And I would like to hopefully inspire some other people to embark on those sort of trips, whatever airplane they've got.